Oh, don't talk soft. What are you talking about, Gab? Of course it's Michael Duff.
Like that Paul Warne is managing the biggest club in League One, as well as managing to get 3 promotions out of the
Sheffield Wednesday. Right on you there, Justin.
The first 10 years of my life, I thought they were called Sheffield Wednesday nil. That's what my
so I'm a difficult person to debate with because I'm very logical. So even now I'm thinking, okay, I can't
keep
see
saying
Derby.
that. Keep saying that, Justin, but I've not heard any evidence.
Leyton Orient just looked, and I just wanted to have a bit more of an aspect and a bit more of a view of what Leyton Orient are. That first 10 minutes worried me big time.
Hopefully at the end of the season, they'll both be celebrating promotions and they'll both be League One managers. I think let's say that one.
Oh, that's such a diplomatic answer now.
I know you mentioned it as well earlier on that I can't believe that Mark Hughes is managing Bradford City. I still can't believe it.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to the 1-2 show, a brand new series where we're talking to fans of clubs in League One and League Two. And who better to join us this afternoon than Andy Simcox, who's a Barnsley fan from the excellent Red All Over. First of all, good afternoon to you, Andy. How are you?
I'm not bad at all, Gabriel, especially after yesterday's match. Not bad at all. We managed to get a win, so I'm great as it stands.
Yeah, I can imagine you buzzing with that. And also from the Second Tier podcast, Justin Peach as well. Lovely to have you on, mate.
Yeah, lovely to be here. As I say, it's nice to come in after a win, especially having not won all season away from home and score as well. So yeah, definitely strange territory for a Derby fan.
Yeah, I can imagine, Justin. Let's get on to that with Derby County then. You've appointed Paul Warne as manager. His first game in charge was that 2-0 victory at Cambridge United. Pretty good start, that.
Yeah, a brilliant start, to be honest with you. As I say, with Derby going away from home this season, it's been a strange one because, I mean, I don't know about Andy, but when you're coming down from a championship, you automatically start to assume you should be beating these teams and that your supporter expectations grows. And it's not been the case for Derby. They've been really, I wouldn't say poor away from home because they have been creating a lot of chances, but they have been taking them. And they've been punished quite a few times. Lincoln City did it. Charlton did it as well. And they have been punished. But actually, Paul Warne coming in, someone who knows the division, someone who knows what it takes to get out of the division, I think is a level of sort of knowledge that wasn't at the club prior, even with the players that Derby have recruited. Don't think there's too much recent League One experience in there other than the likes of Mendes Lang. So actually, yeah, him coming in and bringing that raft of experience as well as his tactical ability and ability to get a team pressing, which I think is not something that Derby have had probably since Frank Lampard. So it's actually a nice change of style of play as well. Slightly more direct than probably what Derby fans are used to, but it doesn't matter what style of football you play. Ultimate aims to get out of the division, and hopefully Paul Warne can deliver that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I actually live in the Rotherham area, Gabe. And he's very, very well thought of. Loved. I'd go as far as to say from the Rotherham fans. And the ones I know are gutted that he's gone. So you've got a very, very good manager at Derby now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing that Paul Warne has done is changing the character, the sort of profile of people at Rotherham and the characters that they bring into the club and the culture and everything. So I think that's I agree with Andy. Another one you'll be familiar with, Andy, at Derby is Conor Hourihane. You kind of longing to see him back at Barnsley, I imagine.
Oh, I'd have loved him come back to Barnsley. He's a legend among Barnsley fans, for his ability. He led us, as the captain. He scored some great goals, but he had that calming presence in midfield. We've got some other players now that can do that, but yeah, he's an absolute star. I don't think he had a particularly great time at Sheffield United, but he's an excellent player, very, very steady in play. A killer passing. But his ability to shoot from you think he can shoot from his own penalty area and score. Seen him score some absolute beautiful goals, from all over, not just your 25, 30 yard screamers, but daisy cutters from just inside. He's a real quality player, think you've done really, really. Derby's done really, really well. I don't know what he's playing like for Derby, but he's doing really, really well for them. For us, he was superb. They'd love to have him back.
Has that been in evidence, Justin?
I don't think we've seen the best of him. I really don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a lot of, especially under Rossini, there've been a lot of Derby fans really frustrated with the balance in the midfield. Max Bird is left-footed. It's weird because I feel like having too many right-footers in that midfield is not an issue, but if you have too many left-footers, it throws it off. It throws it off, and Derby have suffered that in the past with the likes of Bradley Johnson, Will Hughes, and it was starting to come to the fore a little bit. But actually, I think adding Jason Knight into that midfield alongside Hourihane and Bird will get the best out of both Hourihane and Bird, because I think Hourihane's the perfect balance between a box-to-box playmaker, and obviously can get about and finish, and his left foot's a wand. I think every midfield needs a player like Hourihane, which is probably why they're such a premium. But yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of him, which is quite staggering considering the goals that he scored, and the impact he's had in a short space of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming on to Barnsley then, Andy, you must be pretty happy with the impact Michael Duff has had on this club. 5th in the table going into the first week of October. Yeah, you must be delighted with that.
I am. We've played a few games. We've played a game more than a few teams up there, but yeah, we've done well. We didn't start so good. We had a rubbish first match at Plymouth when he was getting to know the players, and the players were getting to know him. And we had a high turnover of players in the summer. So I think the stuff you say about we got into a losing mentality. We didn't go down because we had a 21-point deduction. We went down because we were rubbish last season. So a number of players have gone that wanted to leave, and we've got some decent players in. Michael Duff has been really, really good so far. And of course, for us, it's only 11 matches, so we didn't expect to be where we are now. And maybe we're higher than we ought to be. Certainly higher than I expected us to be. He's absolutely rejuvenated players like Devante Cole, who hadn't really done it at all until this season, and somehow he's flicked a switch and is there, and he's looking like the striker. Not only did we think he might be, but that we hoped he would be. He didn't have a particularly great game yesterday at Fleetwood, but he still caused them bother. And the other times he drifted out of games. So for that he's done really, really well. The midfield at this now is very strong, and we've got a bench that's strong. We've got Duff has also rejuvenated an old player of him in Josh Benson. He was all over the place last season. Maybe he just joined and what have you. He's been immense this season, and he's got a right foot like Conor Hourihane's got a left foot. He can score from anywhere, and if he gets in the opposition half, people are shouting shoot because he can. We've seen we've seen the resurgence or the comeback after an excellent season for him at Oxford United. We've seen Herbie Kane come back, and he's a class act, that player. He's a class act. So that's going to be interesting. And of course, it's vying for attention with Luca Connell, who's also got a sweet left foot, and he's he were out of the side last week and through injury from his back, but from the previous week, and he couldn't get back in because of how the others are playing. Biggest change. Luke Thomas. I'm surprised. We didn't think he were going to get back. We thought we were going to sell him. We didn't think he were going to make it with us. He's been absolutely outstanding.
He was in Derby's academy as well, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I can remember Derby fans. A couple of Derby fans I know saying that they didn't want to let him go. They were sad that he went to go. And for the last two, Barnsley fans have been saying, "Why did we buy him?" Well, now, why did we spend any money? Now this season, my God, he picks the ball up and he just runs at defenders, and they hate it, don't they? If you're a defender, you hate being run at. So he moves at speed with the ball. So it's been excellent so far. 11 games, but he's been absolutely excellent, pivotal to everything. So,
yeah,
thank you, for selling him to us.
I'm gonna come to you then, Justin. What do you think about Barnsley's start to the season? Have you been impressed by the Reds?
I have, and I think it's down to the fact that they were so hopeless last season. I think covering them extensively with the podcast, they were really, really bad, and you can't really mince your words with some teams. And because of how romantic Barnsley were the season before with the playoff run, it was hard to find words to criticise them because you just wanted them to recover. And as I say, I think overturning a losing mentality, is probably harder than instilling a new philosophy into a team. And the fact that Michael Duff's been able to do that in 11 games, changing that mentality, I think is not only a testament to his ability as a coach and why more teams probably should have been looking at him. Because if you get a club the size of Cheltenham with their budget from non-league into League One in the space of a few years, Danny Cowley was lauded for doing it with Lincoln. Not many managers can do it. So Michael just been able to come in, change the belief mentality of that team, as well as adopting, I would say, slightly more direct style of play. Andy might be able to disagree, but that's what it was like at Cheltenham. I've not watched too much of Barnsley. But again, if I go back to the game where Derby beat Barnsley at Pride Park, it was chalk and cheese from what we're seeing now to what we saw back then, especially in the first half. I think Barnsley were particularly great. Came out in the second half a lot better. And I think that form's been left behind. The fact that they're unbeaten now in 6, won the last 3 games. I think you can only credit Michael Duff for that turnaround, because it's not a huge change in squad, and actually they lost a lot of quality as well. So again, doing it with a potentially slightly weaker squad, I think again, it's massive testament to Duff.
Oh, the match at Derby were a game of 2 hours, most definitely. Justin. Absolutely, definitely. And you were lucky to get a win, but we'll move on.
Oh, brilliant. I'm gonna come to you a bit of an interesting question, this one. Andy, you mentioned how good a manager you think Paul Warne is. So I'm going to give you a difficult question. This is who's the better manager out of Paul Warne and Michael Duff?
Oh, don't talk soft. What are you talking about, Gabe? Of course it's Michael Duff. By a country mile. Why would I? What am I going to say? Oh, no, it's Paul Warne. Michael Duff's still right here. Have a word with yourself. It's not an hard question at all. Michael Duff, 100%.
Okay, I actually agree with you on that one. I would probably side with Michael Duff. So it's down to you.
I'm sat down. You've agreed with me. I'm glad I'm sitting down.
Yeah, this is an interesting debate. This, I mean, I'm going to side with Paul Warne because I've got to.
You've only had him a match. You don't know. You can't possibly know.
He's not only picked up 3 points away from home, he's done more than Wayne Rooney has done in the last several months, and he's also got Derby scoring it away from home, which I think if any manager achieves that is quite a staggering achievement. But I think crediting, I mean, the way Rotherham were going before Paul Warne came in, they were on a fast track to the lower echelons of the Football League. They were crashing and burning. So in that sense, Paul Warne's had to bounce back up with his team, whereas Michael Duff's been able to rise with the team. So I think it's quite interesting that both managers have got slightly different. I think the more advanced tactician is probably Michael Duff. Paul Warne relies heavily on his backroom team. So I think that's something that to bring in. I'm a very difficult person to debate with because I'm very logical. But for those reasons alone, and the fact that Paul Warne is managing the biggest club in League One, as well as managing to get 3 promotions out of the
Sheffield Wednesday.
League
Right on you there, Justin.
Bring him on. It's got to be Paul
Warne. Say this, Gabe. The first 10 years of my life, I thought they were called Sheffield Wednesday nil. That's what my So don't big them up. Don't big them up.
I asked this question to your host, actually, the podcast. Why is it that Barnsley fans, they absolutely hate Sheffield Wednesday, but they kind of don't mind Sheffield United?
Oh, flipping it. You want me to say this? Do you want hate mail? Do you want to get hate mail?
That's the aim, Andy.
We're all different, aren't we? I mean, for me, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, it was Rotherham were our arch rivals because both United, they're both Sheffield's club, were miles above us. They weren't even close to being in our division. So, but as I've got older, it boils down to 2 things. Barnsley's not far from Hillsborough. It's not that far. It's a near ground to us.
It's more on the outside of the city, isn't it, Hillsborough? So,
it's in Sheffield 6. It's up at the top. So that's one bit. And of course, if you talk to Sheffield Wednesday fans, apart from they're a bit gormless, they're also a bit arrogant as well. I think they're massive. They keep saying, "Oh, it's the massive." They think they should be in the Premier League because they get big crowds. Well, it don't work that way. It's if you put it in the net and don't concede that it depends which division you're in. So that there's that sort of arrogance that we're better than anybody else, and of course, have the ache. If we'll put it this way, and I know this is hard to believe, if Nottingham Forest or Derby were playing Sheffield Wednesday, I'd sooner them win. I don't want Sheffield Wednesday to win no matter what. They just think they're better than everybody else, and don't tell them that they're not, because it's amusing to see how much they have a meltdown. I listen to the local radio, the six teams locally, and there's 2 Sheffield clubs, there's Barnsley, Rotherham, Doncaster, and Chesterfield, and they're in our sort of South Yorkshire, North Midlands area. So I listen to obviously listen to Michael Duff. I've listened to Paul Warne for a number of years now, and he talks very intelligently and very reasonably. Of course, when fans come on, because it's a praise and grumble show on Radio Sheffield, if Sheffield Wednesday win, they're going to win European Champions Cup, according to their fans. If they lose, the manager is taking us as far as they can. We're going down. We need to change. Fickle, arrogant, fickle, and truthfully a bit soft. So that's why.
Yeah. I mean, I did ask, I suppose.
Get ready for the comments. If anyone get ready for the comments.
Oh, gosh.
You made me say it, Gabriel. It's not me.
Yeah, I did, to be fair. I'll take responsibility for that. Justin, is there the same arrogance in the Derby County fan base, or are you justified in it?
Yeah. I mean, I have a hard time sometimes with some Derby fans, because I think quite a lot of them expect Derby to bounce back straight away. And I think, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, there's that championship arrogance when you come down to expect to bounce back straight up. Sunderland suffered it for years. And I think, there is a certain level of arrogance amongst the Derby supporters. And even still is after the win against Cambridge. Everyone's expecting Derby now to roll teams over, but Plymouth are a force under Steven Schumacher. Ipswich have got the budget and the players and the personnel and a good manager. Even Sheffield Wednesday under Darren Moore, they've got a really, really good squad. And Portsmouth under Danny Cowley as well can't be ruled out. And another big club. There's a lot to push past. And as I say, I'm a difficult person to debate with, because I'm very logical. So even now I'm thinking, okay, can't see Derby.
You keep saying that, Justin, but I've not heard any evidence.
I mean,
what I will say though, you do deserve, unlike us, you do deserve a bit of arrogance. If you hadn't got the 21 points deduction, you wouldn't have gone anywhere near going down. So you should. If it weren't for that, you'd easily still be a championship side. So you've got some justification for that. Now that's logical for you. That's what you need to build on. That's up to logic.
There we go. It's the first time from Andy Simcox, really. Not normally used to that. Final question then to both of you: where will your team finish, and who out of Barnsley and Derby finishes higher? Coming to you, Justin, first.
I'm a pessimist. I think Derby will get relegated. Yeah. I think with Paul Warne, I think Derby can push for the playoffs. I think top 2 will be a bit of a reach. And I think with the budget and squad that we've got, I think we'll finish above Barnsley as well. I think that might just edge it. So I will say Derby will finish 4th. Barnsley maybe 7th, 6th place.
7th, you hedge your bets there. What are you saying then, Andy?
Well, to be honest, at the start of the season on our show, we had predictions where we'd finish, and I said 6th. But in honesty, that were my fingers crossed. I expected it to be about 10th or 11th, mid-table, something like that. But you can't put a show out and say, "Oh, we're rubbish. We're going to finish mid-table." You've got to big it up a bit, haven't you? So I said 6th, but truthfully, I also said I thought that Ipswich and Derby would go up. I thought Ipswich to win the league and Derby to finish second, but it could have been the other way around. So I would expect, with the players that they've got, she's got some really good players. Hourihane, also David McGoldrick from Sheffield United. Yeah. I know he's knocking on a bit now, but he's a quality player. He's got it here, a real quality player, I think. And a player that I always wished we'd signed, and that's, you got James Chester at the back. But what's his name that plays up front? James Collins. You got from Cardiff, didn't you? But I always rated him when he was at Luton. really surprised that Cardiff didn't want to keep him. I'm glad you've gone, because I think he's a real. For me, he always scores against us, so he's a quality player. Can't stand him because he scores against us. No, he's a real. I wish we'd signed him. Really good quality player. So I would expect that you'll get stronger and stronger under Paul Warne, and he'll get much more consistency. So I will still expect you to finish second, and that's from a grumpy old man. So take that what you want.
You're not that grumpy, Andy.
I need to practice better. I've trained all my life to be like this. Don't come easy, being a pessimist like Justin. I've tried, and I think I thought I was perfecting my art until you just said that.
Where are you thinking Barnsley finish then, Andy?
I still think if we finish in the top half, if we finish above 10th, we've had a good season. If we finish 6th, like I'd cross-fingered predicted, I'd be over the moon with that, because I think if we went higher than that, then that's just be ridiculous. Be ridiculous for us after an awful season. 2 managers, coaches that didn't have a clue what they were doing, and all that. To turn it around and get automatic promotion, I think will be too much for us this season. We were all expecting a season of consolidation, getting the team sorted out and the club sorted out, because there's, I suppose, in a different way, but we've got financial constraints, to put it mildly, that we've got to come to terms with. A new board, new manager, new backroom staff, lots of new players. So onwards and upwards, and I hope if it's 6th, I'd take 4th, 5th, 6th. I'd take any of that. If we're in the playoffs, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, well, let's hope that's the case. Gents, thanks so much for joining us. Just give a little plug, first of all, Andy, for Red All Over.
Friends, close friends, talking about football and bantering and taking the mickey out of each other amidst all the football. So, some passionate talk, hopefully some intelligent talk, although not as to old men, especially Smithy, because, he can't help it, bless him. It's a shame, I know, but you get a good flavour. Banter and football from friends sat around a table. I think that's how that to sum it up. And we've gone from strength to strength. We've only been going 2 years. This is our 3rd season. So it's, we had a great season when we first started with a great season. And obviously trying to keep our own spirits up, let alone anybody that watched the show's spirits up last season, were tricky, to say the least. But, hopefully we can get on better and better as time goes on. We enjoy it. Passionate about our club, and we're passionate, and we enjoy each other's company and enjoy talking, even if sometimes it's a bit daft.
Well, most of the time. So we'd like to be joined. Obviously, thanks a lot for joining us, Justin, as well. You're on the second tier pod as well. Give us a little plug for anyone. Most people will be familiar, but for those who aren't yet, give us a little plug.
Yeah, we obviously talk about Championship football. So if you want any insight into the Championship, it's a good place to go. Hopefully many people will say that we're fairly opinionated, honest, but we're honest. We like a debate, and that's what football's about. It's all about opinions. Just don't ask Ryan about Cardiff City or Steve Morrison, you'll be fine. But yeah, again, like Andy, we've not been going for too long. It's our 4th season. Chatting about Championship football, and it's, as I say, just 2 friends chatting about football. We'll get other people involved as well. We get other clubs to give us insight, and we go from there. And obviously, if you've seen clips online, it's only a small snippet of actually what we actually chat about. So don't read into it too much. But yeah, it's available on all platforms at Second Tier, at Second Tier Pod, I think, on Twitter. I think it's the right handle. Never get that right.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure to chat Barnsley and Derby and League One generally with you both. So thanks a lot for joining us. Right, on to League Two. Hello there, welcome back to the 1-2 show. We're now joined to discuss the League Two section by Chris Windsor from the City Vent. I mean to say the City Gent, but it's actually slip of the tongue, hat force of habit. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Lovely to have you on the show to discuss the mighty Bantams, the unbeaten in 7 league games Bantams, as I'll now call them. And we're also joined by Stevie from the Orient Outlook podcast as well. Great to have you on as well, Stevie.
Oh, thanks, Gab. Pleasure to be back. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting timing of this because actually, as we record now, Orient lost for the first time this season after having an unprecedented start to the League Two season. 28 points from the first 10 games. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way yesterday, losing to Newport County. But just before we get into that game, just talk to me overall about the impact Richie Wellens has had on Leyton Orient and the form you've had this season.
Richie Wellens has done an absolutely superb job. Came into a team who were only sliding down the League Two table. Really tough time to come in. The team was low in confidence. We had a dreadful January transfer window. Not much talent within the squad. And the job he's done in the last 6-7 months since he's been appointed, nothing short of miraculous. I think he came in towards the back end. I think he won 7 out of the 11 remaining games he had. And when we went into the season, I think we were all confident. We made some stunning signings, and I was quite confident going into the season. I thought we'd definitely be in the playoffs or in the top 7, but I didn't expect to be sitting here 1st of October and be talking about a record-breaking Leyton Orient team. So like you said, Gabs, 28 points from 30. You know, we were only behind for 3 minutes out of 900 minutes of league football, which is incredible, really. And I know we'll come on to yesterday, but although we lost, we battered them. We had a bizarre 3 minutes where we conceded a goal from a set piece. It's been very unlike Leyton Orient this season. Viggs, our keeper, who's been sensational this season, poor touch, conceded a penalty. And he's done that a few times this season, but redeemed himself by saving the penalties he's conceded. Yesterday, Bogle, it's a good player, Bogle at this level, just beat Viggs. And after that, we battered them again. But fair play to Newport. They defended really well. We put them under pressure. You know, the ref could have been a better ref, but I think you can say that about most games in League Two at the moment. But no, as we sit here, you know, although we lost yesterday, very happy, very positive. The players who we need to be firing have been great so far. All of a sudden, we've got strength and depth throughout the team. There's a high confidence. The fan base all behind Richie. So bring it on. Very happy Leyton Orient fan, Gabs.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see Chris smiling there when he was talking about the referee because you've had a go at one or two, haven't you, Chris?
I have done it. I mean, through my time, and obviously you know that as well, Gab, when you came to the Forest Green game last year. But I just want to mention about Leyton Orient and the incredible form that they have this season. They're very dangerous. I watched first 15 minutes of their game against Newport. The only reason I turned it over was because Liverpool were losing 2-0, and I thought, oh, well done. But Leyton Orient just looked, and I just wanted to have a bit more of an aspect and a bit more of a view of what Leyton Orient are. That first 10 minutes worried me big time. I thought you were fantastic. You hit the crossbar. You had a shot that just went wide of the goal. Just your forward play looks very good. So for myself, from an outlook, I was like, eek, that looks good. And no wonder where you are. I mean, I think there's only, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's only 4 teams that have ever had a better start in all of the leagues, in English leagues, than yourselves. I think if I remember, it's like Man City, Man United, Chelsea, and they all went on and won the Premier League. So that kind of gives you guys a bit of an outlook. But, you know, all credit to you, and I imagine all credit to Richie Wellens as well, really, after when you've lost what's his face, I forgot your old manager, Kenny Jackett, which at the time looked like a fantastic appointment, but just didn't do the job and actually was very poor for you, really.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Jackett was a strange one. We started well, had a few injuries, and teams figured us out quite early on in the season. And for whatever reason, Kenny couldn't amend tactics or get his head around what was happening. So I think it was no surprise once he went. But I think a good point that you mentioned, the start we had. So we took 25 points from 27 from the first 9. Same point last season where Forest Green ran away with the league. They only took 20 points from the 27. So if you look at it like that, we're still in a great position to run away. But attacking wise, I think we have got the quality of the front 4, which is essentially Paul Smith from the left, who was injured for a huge part of last season.
I love Paul Smith at this level.
If we can keep him fit, and Richie's been very good at managing him, so he came off around 80 minutes yesterday, and a few people raised their eyebrows as we were chasing the goal. But you've got to manage him. I mean, he's such a massive player. Assists goals, can make something happen out of nothing. We've got him on the left or the right. He'll alternate with Theo Archibald, who we had on loan last season. So from both wings, you've got players who can play on both sides, who can assist, can get you a goal from nothing. It's really dangerous. In between them, we've got George Moncur from Hull City, who it should be at least high level League One, if not Championship. We've only got him because he lives or comes from Leyton, so we've only really got him due to geography. But he's been amazing. Cool head, incredible footwork. He's got some incredibly quick feet for League Two. And up top, we've got Charlie Coleman on loan from QPR, who I remember 3 or 4 years ago was at this level with Southend, smashing it. And when he was only 17, 18, got a big move to QPR. For whatever reason, it's not happened. He's not got regular football. So he's come. And basically everyone has just raised their games around these players. So going forward, we can counter-attack. We can do patient build-up. We can score tap-ins. We can score 40-yarders. So it's great to watch attacking-wise. And so far, apart from yesterday, the defence have been brilliant. Like I said, Biggs in goal. We saved a few penalties, made some big saves. At the back, we've got Omar Beckles, who's played at League One level before with Crewe and has got a good experience. And Dan Happy, who we've all been excited about for the last 3 or 4 years, has kind of stumbled over the last year or two with injuries and form, but he's been great. Right back, Tom James, who you may have seen some of his superb goals this season, offers you a lot going forward as well as defending well. And
he's such a good technician as well, Tom James. He's not someone that's just going to fly down the flank and run past people and put across him, but he is he's an absolute workhorse. And technically speaking, if you want to place for someone who play a ball down the line or put a cross in or hit one from distance, he's your man, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's won our 3 goal of the month awards already this season. He scored an absolute belter against Grimsby on the opening day, followed it up the week after against Crawley and scored an absolute blinding goal against Sutton. So he gives you a goal, solid defence, great going forward. Left back, got Rob Hunt from Swindon, who got released. Richie knows him, he fits into Richie's game. So you look at our first 11 and go, that's really good. And we've never really had a great depth of squad, but now we've got players like Aaron Dryan, Craig Clay, Rael Satuyu, who last season was starters, who can barely get a sniff this season due to the form.
Even someone like Stephen Duke McKenna on loan from QPR, their fans rate him very highly, but he's not been able to get much of a look in. So it shows you the depth that you've got now. Yeah,
great depth and a great feeling around the club. And I think after the full-time whistle went yesterday, everyone was applauding the team off. Everyone's right behind them. And it didn't feel like a defeat yesterday, even though it was a disappointing loss. As I say, we battered them. We played well. On another day, like you said, the first 10, 15 minutes, we're 3 up. Like the crossbar goes in, one of the curling shots that goes wide goes into the corner. So it wasn't like we played poorly yesterday. We had an insane 3 or 4 minutes where we let ourselves down, but it should have been 2-2. We even had a few tweets from a few Newport fans going, that was a proper smash and grab, good luck this season. But, we played some decent teams. We beat Mansfield. I thought Mansfield were really good, actually, when we played them. They played some great football. Mansfield were great. Swindon were good away from home. We played Tranmere, Barrow, a pretty decent team. So it's not like we've played all the teams around. We've played some decent teams so far. I know we've got a big couple of weeks coming up. We've got Doncaster away next week. That'll be a biggie. Near Northampton, Salford coming up. So I think we'll find out a bit more about Leyton Orient as a whole. But at the moment, I'm not going into those games fearing a walloping. I'm going in looking forward and seeing what this team can do. And obviously, Mark Hughes' men soon, which
3rd of December, I'm down for that game as well.
They've always, the last couple of years against Bradford at home have been stalemate, 0-0 boring games, mate. So hopefully it'll be a bit better.
Hopefully something a bit different this time, though. I'm going to you, Chris, because Bradford City unbeaten in 7 league games. It looks like there's a real strength. We've talked about the strength in depth at Leyton Orient. It feels like there's real depth at Bradford City as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think that's one thing that we've never had in League Two, is where we haven't had the strength in depth. So you look at, I mean, personally, I think like the substitution rule, where you now can make 5 subs, has made a massive difference to our team, and the fact that we can change the shape of our team because we've got quality footballers that are on the bench. I mean, for instance, I'll give you an example. So you got Verdane Oliver, who was top goal scorer for Gillingham last season in League One. He's on the bench because he can't get past Andy Cook. Now, Andy Cook is...
I think very few can.
I think the only person in England right now that could do more is unfortunately, Erling Haaland. And again, he scored a hat-trick today. So there's a surprise. But I feel like it's obviously Mark Hughes' philosophy. So what I found out as well is before we signed the players, it wasn't a case of how good they were. What we did was we did background checks on how they could perform and how they dealt with things and whether they were the right fit and whether they weren't just doing it for the money, whatever. So every single player that we signed this year, we did our background checks on. So again, I think we signed 16 players in the summer, which is obviously a hell of a lot of players to put in. So it's been interesting. And to be honest with you, we are building. And I think the team is starting to perform. We should have beaten Wimbledon last week. We didn't. We drew, obviously, 2-2, but we beat Harrogate yesterday. Should we have beaten them a bit more comfortably? Yes, possibly so. But I feel this team is building. I think that the right things have been put in place. For instance, this week in the training ground, Mark Hughes wrote up, because we've lost the last 4 games to Harrogate, which has been, I'm not going to lie, it's quite embarrassing for us. But
at least it wasn't one of those pre-season games.
No, well, I mean, in the pre-season game, I think they beat us 7-0, which was like 3 years ago. So that was quite embarrassing. But he put that up on the board. That was his team talk. It was the games that we'd lost against them and said, change it. And that was his team talk for yesterday. So the club is going in the right direction. There's a lot of positive feeling about Bradford at the moment. And we're in 4th position. We're quite happy with that. But I would like to think we're going to grow on that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. What do you look at it? How do you see Bradford City, Stephen, from an outside perspective? Do you see them as a real threat to Orient's position and the automatics? Do you see them finishing in the playoffs, or do you see them missing out?
Do you know what? I think every season you look at the teams and you always go, right, who's going to be up there and who's going to be down there? And due to the history of Bradford City, you always look and go, you expect them naturally to be at least challenging up there. I think when Bradford appointed Mark Hughes, I think we all raised our eyebrows, or I certainly did. I thought, bloody hell, that's no disrespect to Bradford. How on earth has Mark Hughes gone there? And he had a difficult start, if I remember rightly, and he's obviously gone there. And the thing I like about Mark Hughes is he doesn't need to be manager of Bradford City. He's already got his legacy as a player and as a manager to a certain extent in the Premier League done. So he's obviously there for the passion and the enthusiasm, and because he wants to be there, which I think is always a key sign to a manager. He's not there to make a buck. He's there because he wants to be manager of Bradford City and obviously feels he can do well there. I think based on what I'm seeing from Bradford City, the form of Andy Cook, if they can keep him fit, I would expect Bradford City to be disappointed if they don't go up top 3 as it stands based on the first 11 games of this season. And I watch the Football League show every week, and like you said, Wimbledon I think was a bit disappointing. Like, I think you should have won that, and I think every team can attribute dropping 2 or 3 points somewhere, but it's just making sure you don't lose those points and turning draws into wins or losses into draws. And I think at the moment Bradford City definitely have the capabilities to go and do that going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Steve mentioned Andy Cook there, and I do want to ask you about that, Chris, because it's easy to say now he's second top goal scorer in the league with 9. What a player! But I think actually in the summer there were 1 or 2 who are suggesting that maybe there was a bit of a revamp needed in the forward areas. Cook hadn't had the easiest 21-22 campaign with injuries. What's Mark Hughes done, do you think, to really get the best out of him?
I'm gonna go back on a previous point. So just something that you guys might not know about is Mark Hughes. So he applied for the role at Bradford City. So our CEO, it gone to his junk mail because it was his son's. It was his agent, and it went into his emails, and it actually nearly got forgotten about. Luckily, we managed to salvage that one at the end of the day. But Mark, he came and he just wanted to be a manager again. So that was a credit to him. I think a lot of people think that he's on millions of pounds a year. He's obviously not. He's in League Two. But one thing I would always mention as well is about him, and obviously Gab, sorry, I will come on to your point in a second, but he was always classed as a miserable manager in the Premiership. Now, you see him doing kick-ups on the touchline. He seems to be really enjoying his football again, and I think that it's not a case of that he's League Two. I just think he's really enjoying the football that he's producing, and the fact that the fans are so behind him. So with regards to the philosophy, is what you said, Gab, as well, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that what he's done is he's brought Bradford City fans together again. We had Derek Adams last season to be fair, I think that when we brought in Derek Adams, there was no Bradford City fan that thought, okay, that's the terrible decision, because he'd just taken Morecambe up to League One. Of course, thought it was great. However, it was an absolute massive fail. It was a huge fail, and he almost in some ways distance Bradford City fans from Bradford City fans. He created a lot of turmoil. I mean, the guy's a really good guy. I'm not going to knock him for anything, but that was the kind of guy that he was. Mark Hughes comes in. First game back, I think we had 18,000 at Bradford City. And ever since then, we just have that kind of rapport. And I know you mentioned it as well earlier on, that I can't believe that Mark Hughes is managing Bradford City. I still can't believe it. I genuinely still can't believe that we got Mark Hughes as manager. And we honestly just looking at the players that they brought in, we're just enjoying the ride at the minute. I suppose we've had a terrible 5 years. So it's been good to see, if I'm honest.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that. A big question then. We've talked about how good a job Richie Wellens has done at Orient. We've talked about how remarkable it seems in a way that Bradford City have Mark Hughes as manager in League Two. So I'm going to put a question to you both, starting with you, Stevie. Who's the better manager?
Oh, it's far too early to say. I mean, they're two very different managers. Obviously, Mark Hughes has, been there, done it in the Premier League. I think there's hearing. I don't know your name. Sorry, Bradford fan talk.
Chris.
There's a lot of similarities. Wellens walked into a fan base who were broken, very split. Sounds a bit like the Bradford City fan base. One of the first things he done was literally say to the fans, "Come on, you need to be behind us. You got to get off our cases and literally support your team." And I think a good manager can sense that when he walks into your club where the fan base is at. Wellens has done that superbly well, very quickly, and you can see he's there and enjoying his football, like Mark Hughes is at Bradford. Richie's doing kick-ups. He's having a laugh with the supporters. He's very approachable. He's very honest as well in his post-match interviews. If a player's let him down, or if he's made a wrong decision, he'll kind of take responsibility for it. And that's what you want to see for your manager. And I think the reason why I'm so happy with Richie is that he's got a point to prove. A bit like Hughes, I think, as well. They're not there because it's a job. They're there because they want to get the clubs they're at up. And Wellens knows, after doing very well at Swindon, having a disappointing time at Salford, followed by a disappointing time at Doncaster, Wellens knows it's not going to be more opportunities for him, but he knows that if he can get Orient up, I mean, he knows in London, decent fan base, get him into League One, and who knows where we can go. You know, our CEO, Mark Devlin, was on Sky Sports last week talking about Brentford. 10 years ago, Brentford were our big rivals in the league, and you just got to see how they pushed on, how they've used their systems around them, their environment, and kicked on. So it's an exciting time to be an Orient fan, but I can't compare Richie Wellens to Mark Hughes because, hopefully at the end of the season, they'll both be celebrating promotions and they'll both be League One managers, I think. Let's say that one.
Oh, that's such a diplomatic answer now.
Very politician answer.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, you've not fallen for it at all. Chris, what are you saying?
Do you know what? I'm going to be exactly the same. I think that you've got to look at what Richie Wellens has done this season, and already, you look at like the record already, with the first 10, 12 games, and you've got to look at Leyton Orient's form, and you can't say, oh yeah, he's just an average manager. Richie Wellens, I think this is the perfect club for him. I think Salford was never the right club for him. I don't think Salford, to be honest with you, is the right club for any manager. But I think that he's in the right position. He's in the right role. And do you know what? I can't disagree with any of that. Mark Hughes again. I mean, the one thing that will surprise you, or I think it will surprise you, is this isn't the first club that he's since he's left Southampton that he's gone for. And not only is he gone for, he didn't even get an interview. So there was a couple of clubs, I won't mention them, but there was a club in League One and there was a club in the Championship, and neither of them gave him an interview. So regarding who's the better manager, I'm going to say the same thing. Let's see. And hopefully both of us will be in the League One next season, mate. Let's go with that one. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so I think you can tell that both managers are doing a subsequently great job, because you've got two very happy fans. You've done enough of these, Gabs, to know that Orient fans have been very unhappy for a certain amount of time since we lost Justin, and I think the same for Bradford fans. Yeah. I think you can tell both managers, by the way we're coming across tonight, are doing a very, very good job so far this season, based on what we're saying.
Wonderful stuff, fellas. Before you let you go, just a quick plug. Tell us about Orient Outlook, Steve.
Orient Outlook podcast, a weekly podcast by me and my good South Stand chum, Paul Levy. Goes out live every Sunday night at 10 o'clock. All the latest O's news, views, anything else that you would need. Club interviews occasionally, and an honest assessment on where the club is at. Follow us at Twitter at Orient Outlook, at Instagram at Orient_Outlook_podcast, or find us on Facebook at Orient Outlook Podcast.
Absolutely. Go check it out, folks. And also the City event.
So the City event, we have weekly podcasts. We've just got Adam back. Me and Adam started it to begin with. He had a couple of months off. I'm kind of moving around so you can see the flag that we created that was in the ground. We did a tifo on the first game of the season. Follow us, the City event. We do spaces, Twitter spaces. We do obviously the podcasts. We also do vlogs and things like that. Just follow us on there. It'd be any City fans or anyone who wants a different view and listen to certain stuff or about what's going on with Bradford. Have a listen to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check it out, folks. This has been the 1-2 show. Thanks to all our guests this afternoon for joining us. Thanks also to Steve from Orient Outlook and Chris from the City event. This has been the 1-2 show. I'll see you again next time.